The year is 2032. Bryce Harper is still playing baseball for the Phillies. Tom Brady is suiting up for his 32nd NFL season, and eating Tide Pods is now socially acceptable. Finally.
You've been doing that for years.
Welcome to the Sweat, ladies and gentlemen. She's Jessie Coffield. I'm Emerson Lotzia.
So yeah, some big news coming out today with Bryce Harper signing a 13-year deal with the Phillies worth $330 million, the largest contract in league history. And we have a couple guys here to talk about it. DK Live's Pierce Dietrich and Steve Buchanan.
All right, guys, we got a couple topics to hit on here. Let's go ahead and just around the water cooler. That's what we're doing right now. Let's have some conversations.
You can't even see it. Oh, man.
We are going to start. Can you just hold it up? We are going to start with Harper's ginormous contract, which includes no opt-out, a full no-trade clause. Keep it up. How would you grade this deal for the 26-year-old Steve?
Well, first of all, we have to have a little celebration here. I got the Phillies colors behind me. I did a little decorating.
Is that tape? Did you put that tape up there yourself?
What is that?
Yeah, I did. I put all that up there. And then, you know what? If we're going to have a party, I mean, come on. Let's
go. Yeah! Let's go.
The worst MLB free agent season is over. This has been the most drawn-out thing I've ever seen in my entire life. All these idiots. Oh, where's Machado going? Where's Harper going? We've been talking about this for about 2 to 3 months now. This was the longest thing to ever go through. I'm so glad it's over. Now that that's through, talk about the contract.
Yeah.
So Harper, he gets this unbelievably massive deal. He gets his 13-year, $330 million deal. Got to get around $25 million per year. The most amazing part about this is still not even the highest in the league. Zach Greinke, of all people, that tub of lard, he can't get anybody out of this point. He's the highest paid average-wise in the league. Then Nolan Arenado, yep, that's fine. What gets me is that there's no opt-out in this deal. So holy crap, my 7-year-old is going to be 20 when this deal is over. He's going to be a year away from me going out to drink when this is over. He's in first grade right now.
Drink legally.
No trade clause, I believe, either. It's absolutely maddening. This is going to be such a bad contract in about 5 to 6 years. This is like in the honeymoon stage where, yeah, let's get together. Then 2 years later, you want to get out of the marriage. It's going to be horrendous as this goes on.
Wait, really quick, Steve, did you have red tape lying around your house, or are those fruit roll-ups?
No, these are streamers.
Oh, so okay.
Yep.
So
let's get the party going.
So it's not.
Ken, you want to hang them up.
Okay, Ken confirm it's not fruit roll-ups.
Pierce, I want to get your thoughts here on this contract. Also, let's think about this. The Phillies batting order, it's not too shabby. Harper, Real Muto, Gene Segura, Andrew McCutchen. These are win-now moves. Will Philadelphia win now?
Yeah, they're the favorite now to win the National League because not only is their offense pretty much loaded, and they're loaded with veterans, they're loaded with young studs. Like Nick Williams is a guy that probably people were really disappointed in last year, but prospects do not grow. Growth is not linear. They don't just get better and better and better. They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. Nick Williams is going to have a really good year, unless, of course, he doesn't see the playing field because there's too many good players on the field. You've got McCutchen, you've got Real Muto. They are absolutely, and their pitching staff has 5 pitchers. They're almost 6 pitchers deep. I mean, it's almost number ones everywhere. They're clearly the favorite. They didn't really even need to go after Harper. Yeah, are they going to be saddled by a terrible contract for a long time? But yeah, who isn't? These big market teams somehow find a way to survive. The Mets were going to World Series paying Bobby Bonilla, and that guy wasn't anywhere near the stadium. So somehow these guys, they figured out. I don't know how they work the money. I'm not going to feel bad for the billionaires. They'll make the contract work. They're the favorites this year. It's clearly them out of the National League.
Yeah, Bonilla will still be getting $1.19 million every July until 2035. So our DK Report Card segment is going to continue with the biggest NFL news of the day, and it hails from Dallas, Texas, where Jason Witten has announced he's coming out of retirement and returning to play for the Cowboys. Poor Monday Night Football. It's just not going to be the same without him.
No, he has saved Monday Night Football with this move.
So how would you grade this decision? And more importantly, who do you want to replace him in the booth, Pierce?
I thought this was a joke.
It's
really
real.
Did. And I think a lot of people are going to have that same feeling. But you look at his numbers. They were not bad his last 2 years. The only concern I have is he's coming out of retirement, and we've seen a couple players do this before. It really never goes well because a lot of guys that retire, they have pretty good numbers. I know it's a good spot. The Cowboys look really good. They've got Amari Cooper, who all of a sudden turned it on. But the thing is with Amari Cooper, he turned it off pretty quickly for the Raiders too. So who's to say that doesn't happen? they have a chance. They're a decent team. Now they can focus their draft and their free agency picks on the defense and not worry about filling up the tight end spot. So I don't know. I feel bad for Blake Jarwin. What's going to happen to this guy? I know Steve loves some Blake Jarwin. A little depressing for him. His career's pretty much over. I don't know who's going to replace him in the booth. Who cares?
Steve, I just heard a sound of exasperation from you.
I mean, look, he was so bad in the broadcasting booth. I mean, I won't even sugarcoat it. He sucked. I mean, he needed a career change, and he did what he did well. He goes back to being a tight end for the Cowboys. I mean, but it's just such an odd move. Like, the timing of this is just so odd. The 2019 tight end class that's coming up, it's actually pretty loaded for tight ends. The 2 kids out of Iowa that's coming up, the kid from Alabama State. It's weird timing to bring back a guy who's, was retiring. And $5 million, that's the reported deal that he's getting. That's a lot of money for a guy who was, quote unquote, committing to broadcasting a couple months ago. I mean, you can't think he's in shape. And once all of a sudden he's going to go to the gym, do some workouts, and now he's going to be all back in form. I don't know. It does hurt Blake Jarwin. Like that big game that I projected for him in week 17 of next season, probably not going to happen now. Like that, freezing cold takes, pull the tape. That's a bad take now. So I don't know. It's just such an odd move. I honestly thought when Ian Rappaport tweeted out, I honestly thought he was hacked or it was the wrong guy.
You may be surprised, though, what impact this will have on Blake Jarwin. We have Nick Eatman coming up in the show. He's joining the program.
Maybe we'll ask him about it.
We will be asking him about it. He's been a Dallas Cowboys reporter for 20 years, so also what it means for the Cowboys this offseason and if he actually thinks he's going to make more of an impact in the locker room or on the field. So little tease.
Stay tuned
for, what's
for
coming
that.
Up. After spending, though, a majority of his offseason focused on improving his height, today at the NFL Combine, Kyler Murray measured in at 5'10", 207 pounds with a 9.5-inch hand. A lot of people think he might be worth trading up for now in the draft with those hand measurements. How would you grade Murray's draft stock, Steven?
I mean, I love how the official height and weight just dispelled everything. Like, everything is right in the world now because he's 5'10 and an eighth, 207 pounds, and his hand size is 9.5. I mean, they keep talking about Russell Wilson and the comparisons, and it's absolutely legitimate. Like, just because he's this kind of small doesn't mean he can't take a hit. Guess who took the most sacks in the league? Third most in the league last season. It was Russell Wilson. Last time I checked, he was still alive. So, I mean, come on. He's been playing football his whole life. And then they started talking about the hand size. Good Lord. I could not be interested less in something like that. When I started hearing the hand size, like that's something that Pierce would gush over. Like some stupid thing like that. Like Pierce was probably so excited about the hand size. He's like, I can't wait to talk about this on the Sweat tonight. But overall, like the Cardinals have to be licking their chops because they're either going to trade him. They're either going to take him or they're going to trade out of the first pick and get something else good because obviously the hype around him is well. Everybody's happy with what they saw here. So, yeah, it's great for him. It's great for the Cardinals, but let's talk to Pearson about the hand size.
It's true, though. All the analysts we have on this show today, after I saw the measurements hit Twitter, I'm not kidding you, Pierce is the first guy I thought of. I said, this guy is going to be in love with his height and his hand measurements.
Right. It's a loser thing to get excited about, so Pierce comes to mind.
Go ahead, Pierce.
I get excited about it because it's a stupid thing to follow because it never comes through. Russell Wilson was too small. They were wrong. Remember, Jamarcus Russell was basically like a Greek god cut out of stone, was going to be the greatest quarterback ever. That didn't work out. Speaking of hand size, you know who had probably the biggest hand size? Johnny Manziel. How did that one work out? They were breaking down Andy Dalton's red hair and wondering if that was going to prevent him from winning games. It is really ridiculous, but when you have a 24/7 NFL network that goes and covers a combine, of course they're going to talk about hand size. Of course we're talking about hand size. We've got to talk about something. I would rather talk about, did he win big games? And the answer is no. His last game, they lost. I would much rather have Dwayne Haskins, the guy who won his last 2 big games.
Can I just add this? Per NFL research, Murray has larger hands than Baker Mayfield had at the 2018 Combine.
Wow.
Think about that.
What do you think, Pierce? How exciting.
Go ahead, Pierce.
I got to give you a hand for that research.
Oh, shoot.
Thanks, guys. It's been real.
Nailed it. Yeah, excellent work. Excellent work. Very punny.
You're like the size of Murray.
No, I'm 5'5".
Okay, a little short.
I'm a lot shorter. So thanks for the 411. NBA Chaser Fade is right around the corner, so please hang tight.
Get ready to set your sights on DraftKings' free-to-play basketball brotherhood contest. It is presented by Netflix's Triple Frontier, which stars Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund, and Pedro Pascal, available on March 13th. Now to play, you got to form your own brotherhood here, consisting of 5 players who can hit from deep. Why? Because only 3-pointers matter. That's it. Nothing else. Just threes. So take your best shot with 5 players from the main slate while staying under the $50,000 salary cap. Now, the more triples that fall, the more points for your brotherhood. It's just that simple. Basketball Brotherhood contest run throughout March, so step back behind the arc, make it rain for a chance to win cash prizes, all courtesy of Triple Frontier, available on Netflix March 13th.
Time to turn our attention to the NBA, and our panel tonight is sure to be a slam dunk. Say hello to DK Live's Julian Edlow, RotoWire's Alex Barutha, and from the New York Daily News, it's Karin Phillips.
You are about to see our Chase or Fade animation, which, you guessed it, means we're playing Chase or Fade. Russell Westbrook is the most expensive player tonight, $11,100 against the Sixers. We know that Paul George is out. Julian, Chase or Fade, with no George, Westbrook is a lock to go for at least 80 DK points.
I mean, I guess I'll fade that he's a lock to go for 80 DK points because that's a ton, but I'll chase that Russell Westbrook is the first guy that I want to roster on this slate. It was already a really good spot against Philly. Westbrook was a guy that earlier in the morning when Paul George had not been ruled out, he was going to be my guy to pay up for anyway. So you take Paul George out of the equation, and Westbrook immediately becomes, the most attractive play on the slate. So I do think he definitely has 80 DK point upside. And at $11,000, I think he's just in a really strong spot. Definitely the guy that you want to anchor with in cash games on this slate.
Lock to go for at least 80 DK points, Alex?
I don't want to call him a lock, but I think he could get very close. The Thunder have a lot more offensive talent than they did before. When Paul George was out, they have Markieff Morris now. Jeremy Grant's been playing better offensively. In the 3 games that Russell Westbrook's seen over 80 DraftKings points, he's averaging 37 points, 14 rebounds, 14 assists, and almost 2 steals. That's a crazy game. I think he could do it. I just wouldn't call him a lock. And like we said, I think you have to throw him in your lineup for sure. I'm just not ready to say he'll go for 80.
All right, Karin, you are our last hope to call Russell Westbrook a lock to go for at least 80. Go ahead, chase it.
I'm locking him, but not for 80.
How much?
It's just a little bit too high. And we're locking him for all the reasons everyone said before. Like you look at what's going on. Paul George is giving you 29, 8, and 4 a game. Ridiculous numbers. That's why he's in the MVP conversation. Then you look over at, Steven Adams. He's giving you 15 and 10. Schroeder's probably going to get a lot more minutes tonight. He's averaging around 16 a night. But outside of that, who much can you really trust? So the burden's going to be on Russell's shoulders. But on top of that, Russ and Joel Embiid will be in the same building tonight. So we know fireworks are going to happen outside of an all-star game where, the beef kind of settles. So definitely going with Russell. You got to chase him on this. I just don't want to lock him at 80 because that's just a really high number. But if it could be 79, 78,
okay, close enough.
Might have my attention.
Listen, our producer Steph, she dreams big.
Yeah, she does dream big. All right, guys, Klay Thompson went off last night for 49.5 DK points against the Heat. KD not going tonight, so Chase or Fade Thompson is a must play at only 6,500 against Orlando. Alex.
Yeah, I think he's a must play. I don't really think this is even a question. With Durant and Iguodala off the floor this season, Klay Thompson averages 11 DraftKings points more per 36 minutes. So under that condition, he goes up to 48.5 DraftKings points per 36 minutes, which is a ridiculous return on investment if he gets there at 6,500. So, yeah, I think the usage is going to go his way. I think it's also going to go DeMarcus Cousins' way, but we're talking about Klay Thompson, and I think he's an excellent play tonight.
Karin, is he a must play?
Definitely. Lock this guy in. Last time they played, Steph Curry was out. So that was one of their big 3 out. And Klay went for 29, had 6 threes. KD had 49 that night, and we know he's not playing, but someone else has to pick up that slack. You think about Cousins, Curry's back, but Klay's been in the groove. And on top of that, he's cheap. I can get Klay Thompson for $6,500 against Orlando Magic. that's definitely a good buy.
Julian, 3 for 3?
No, fade that he's a must play.
Ooh.
You can play him. He's a fine play. He's a good play, but give me Steph Curry for $9,100.
Oh.
Just like Karin said, I mean, Klay Thompson had a really good game against Orlando, but KD went for 49 in that one. With KD out, Steph's now the guy that's got that 50 real point upside in this game. And we know how well, he can have those games where he hits 8, 10 threes and gets you 60, 70 DK points. I like the spot for Curry better. I think people, hopefully their attention is off of Curry. It sounds like these guys are on Klay, so I like that. That's great. Maybe Curry can be a little bit lower owned. He's also scored under 40 DraftKings points in each of his last 2 games. So his salary is nice and cheap on a night that Durant is out, and hopefully attention goes elsewhere, and you can get Curry a little bit lower owned.
If Curry is the guy that has the ability to go for big numbers for 50, who's the guy in the league that's only hit more threes than him in the game?
I mean, that's fine. You can play Klay Thompson too. I'm not saying he's not a good play.
Okay. That's all I want to
I'm
know.
saying I'll take Curry.
Okay.
Well, enjoy spending that extra cash, Julian.
Woo!
Donovan Mitchell is at his cheapest price since January 11th, $8,000 against the Nuggets. Karn, chase or fade that he should actually be even cheaper tonight?
I'm chasing this despite, Denver's on a 5-game winning streak and they've been rolling. But in the last 4 games before the night, Donovan Mitchell has scored 32, 25, 38, and 25. So give me Donovan Mitchell.
All right, where are you going to go on this, Julian? Should he be even cheaper, though, than 8K?
No, I don't think he should be cheaper. I think he's fairly priced given that it's a difficult matchup against Denver. But the reason that you can play Donovan Mitchell on this slate is because of their injured backcourt. We've already got Ricky Rubio ruled out, and Raul Neto was supposed to be the guy that got those extra point guard minutes, and he gets ruled out as well. So Utah is going to be really thin at point guard. That should mean extra usage for Mitchell. He should be, this is a game he could play 40 minutes and play point guard the entire time. So he has some really nice upside in this game. I'll have to go cheaper probably for value on Utah, guys like Jay Crowder, Joe Ingles, because like I said, I want Westbrook and Curry. I want to pay up for those guys. So Donovan Mitchell might not fit into my lineup. But if you're a guy that's going down for Klay Thompson over Steph Curry, then Mitchell should make a lot of sense for you.
All right, Alex, you like this price point? He's hit for more than 42 DK points in 4 of his last 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, considering the situation with Rubio out and Neto out, I think he could actually be more expensive, but we didn't know exactly Rubio's designation before this game started. Without Rubio this season, Donovan Mitchell's averaging about 50 DraftKings points. That's about 10 more than he usually averages when Rubio's on the floor. So you're getting him at a great price. And just overall, he's a guy that if you're trying to reach elite tier production at that kind of high to mid tier price, I think Donovan Mitchell, even I guess with Steph Curry, in this case, are guys you can turn to.
Mitchell Robinson's price has jumped $1,000 since Tuesday thanks to 2 great games in a row. He's now the most expensive Nick against the Cavs, but still only $6,400. So Julian, chase or fade, Robinson is a must play considering he's still so cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think there's a lot of really strong plays on this slate, so I'll fade that he's must play, but he's definitely in the conversation. It depends how you're building your roster. Do you have the $6,400? If you have that left over on one of your last few slots, I think I want Mitchell Robinson. So he's been really good lately. He's had double-doubles in consecutive games, 15 points and 14 rebounds, 17 points and 14 rebounds, but the blocks are really where you're getting your value. 5 blocks, 6 blocks. He recently said to the media, I think I can average, or I want to average 6 blocks a game. So I think Robinson's in a really strong spot. The Cavs do tend to slow the game down a little bit more. They rank high defensively in terms of DraftKings points allowed to the center position, only because they mostly play so slow. But that said, Robinson is kind of a unique athlete, making him kind of matchup proof. So I think he's a pretty solid play. Should have another double-double with a handful of blocks.
Alex, what do you think?
Must play is a little strong because of all the top tier injuries we're seeing tonight. But at the same time, I mean, I think he's a must play, at least in cash games. His floor has been so high lately. When he sees over 30 minutes a game, he averages 50 DraftKings points. That's, I mean, when you're talking about how cheap he is, that's ridiculous. So he's very close to a must play. Definitely explore your other options first, but settling on Robinson it's not really settling at all.
Karin, $6,400. Is he a must play?
I mean, he might be a must play if you spend all your money like Julian does on Steph Curry and you don't have anything left. But
I got plenty left.
Hey, but for a guy like me who likes to budget his money and spread it all around, I'll take a look at him. But on a serious note, like he's been hot. He's been a very surprising move for the Knicks, where all year they've just been a head scratcher, especially at the point guard position. But to see Mitchell Robinson's story from high school to being in college and not being in college and not playing and going somewhere and winding up here, it's been good to see this happen for him. So if you got the money, you can spend it. But if you want to, reel it back and make some other decisions, like Klay Thompson, go right ahead.
Hey, Jules, before we go, I want to throw a quick question out to you. Wayne on Facebook wants to know, Thad Young or Larry Nance?
I think I would go Thad Young there. Indiana's going to be without DeMontis Sabonis and Tariq Evans, so those are their two best bench guys. That means those starters are going to have to step up, play more minutes, particularly Thad Young at that power forward spot with no Sabonis.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thank you for answering Wayne's question. Great work, guys.
You're welcome, Emerson.
We will have you back for High or Low in a couple minutes, right after we check in with our hockey panel tonight. Get excited.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash, and how things can change in a year. It was around this time leading up to the 2018 NFL Draft when the New York Jets traded to the number 3 overall pick to select Sam Darnold. Now they find themselves at the number 3 slot again, but are open to trading out of it. Right now we feel good at number 3. Jets GM Mike McCagnon said Wednesday, but I'd definitely say if there's an opportunity to trade down, we would absolutely look at it. No matter which way you slice it, the Jets are in a pretty solid spot at number 3. If they take a player, they'll be bringing in a true blue chip talent. And if they trade it, they could be seeing something similar to the compensation they gave up a year ago when they traded the number 6 pick in the 2018 draft, along with 3 second-rounders to go to number 3. If they can get a package like that from a QB-hungry team, New York will certainly have to look at it.
We've got a 7-game slate tonight in the NHL, so we're bringing in the big guns. Pew, pew. DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Awesemo.com's Chris Wassel. What a dynamic duo.
All right, guys, we need your help playing a little price check. So Jeffrey, Nikita Kucherov, and Connor McDavid are the priciest skaters tonight, both $7,900.
Oh.
Which one going to give you more bang for your buck?
Oh, well, it's a good old hockey game, and I like this Connor McDavid kid. Hey, Jessie, he's just a good Canadian guy. And in all seriousness, he's going up against the worst team in hockey. It's the Ottawa Senators tonight, right? I mean, I like Kucherov. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Lightning are a far superior team, but you look at the matchups here, the Oilers are actually bigger favorites than the Lightning tonight. They're actually projected for slightly more goals, too, if you get right down to the nitty-gritty. So you take that into account, then you take into the fact that nobody on the Oilers scores except Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I don't really know how you can't like Connor McDavid in this spot. The Senators just traded away all their good players. Oilers got embarrassed last night. I picked Connor McDavid as my, slate approved, whatever. That didn't work out, but he'll probably bounce back tonight because, like I said, Senators are terrible. So I'll go with McDavid here.
Oh, sure. Okay, Chris, where are you going on this one?
There's no doubt about it. You have to sit there and go Connor McDavid for the simple fact that, look, Kucherov's going to wind up going up against the Bergeron line. That'll at least slow him down a little bit. So he's not going to get – he more than likely won't score you a goal or two, which is what you need. He had 3 assists last night. That was great, but you're probably not going to see that tonight. Boston has a better penalty kill. Their goaltenders are on a roll late, 4-1 in their last 5. 9-2-1 in their last 12. That's some staggering numbers. They're all look. Let's put it this way: they're almost as hot as the Lightning right now. They're on a 14-game point streak.
What?
Get out of here! No, they're not.
In a crazy sense, yeah, it's nuts. But both teams are pretty hot right now. Coming in at least at home. So keep that in mind.
That's crazy.
True, Emerson. Look up the stats.
That's crazy.
Lightning hot.
Lightning hot.
They're lightning hot, and that's why you have to go Connor McDavid. Look, Ottawa spotted Washington a cute 2-0 lead the other night, and then Washington's top 6 basically just was like, well, yeah, we showed up late for the final, but we're going to go and ace it now. And basically, you had guys getting 20, 25. It just felt like a bumper car out. It wasn't a problem for them. So it could be much the same tonight, just more localized. And if you want to sneak in Darnell Nurse or something tonight, hey, why not?
Why not?
Well, Chris, while you're here, Anton Khudobin is riding a 2-game win streak and is facing the terrible LA Kings. Is he a steal, or just how much of a steal is he at 7,700?
My only fear with Hudobin tonight is because of the 7-game slate. If this was like a 10 or 11 or even 12-game slate, like a normal Thursday, this would be much easier to stomach. It's almost a little chalky tonight. But look, LA is just so bad that the only concern I have with Dallas is will they score enough goals or allow enough shots? Sometimes they do, like against Chicago and Anaheim and a few other teams. So you take that going in and go, well, he's projected to allow 30 shots tonight. So if he allows 2 goals and gets the win, that's a steal.
Okay, Jeffrey, would you expect him to be a little chalky at this price point?
I don't think it's going to be super chalky because you have Darcy Kemper, who's on a 4 or 5 game win streak, and the Arizona Coyotes are actually bigger favorites at home. So exact same price point. I think Kemper will probably be the more popular play. Although I understand why people would be, not want to put all their eggs in the Arizona Coyotes basket because they're not exactly showstoppers either. But I kind of like this play, to be honest. I mean, Khudobin is a pretty solid goalie. I mean, the Stars they're pretty good at playing down to the opponent and not scoring goals in some spots, but I don't mind this spot. The one thing I'll say is like goalie, it just feels like there's no good spot tonight. I mean, you've got 2 elite teams like the Leafs and Islanders going up against each other. You don't really like that. The Lightning and Bruins. I mean, Bobrovsky feels like the best, but he's been inconsistent. So I don't mind Khudobin. I think I like Kemper like a touch more, but those 2 guys are probably top of my list tonight.
Claude Giroux has 9 points in his last 10 games, but he has a tough matchup tonight with Sergei Bobrovsky in goal for the Blue Jackets. So, Jeff, do you think he's a bad play tonight for 6,300?
His name's Claude Giroux.
Giroux.
From Canada.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry,
Okay,
mate.
I'll stop doing that.
Answer.
The Columbus-Philadelphia Flyers matchup, I mean, it's got the biggest puck total on the slate. There's some upside here, I admit. I mean, Drew's played pretty good over the last few games. I like going up to Mark Stone better, or maybe even Jonathan Huberdeau. But Drew's definitely in play. Again, it's one of those slates where it doesn't seem to be like a dominant option. I don't think any of the stacks are going to be super chalky. Maybe the Oilers stack, although again, I don't know how many people are going to feel confident in the Oilers because they basically never score more than 2 goals. So I think Drew's an interesting tournament play. I don't think he's overpriced, but I like going down to Mark Stone, and I do like going up to Mark Stone. I do like some of the more value plays underneath him a little bit better too. I mean, just looking, but like DeBrus, Kapanen, Johansson. So I don't know. I think Drew, the Philly stack is fine. He's not overpriced.
Chris, what do you think?
The fun part in this, I believe, and this is key, but from Toronto media, Kapanen may be out tonight. So,
that's
just coming across. So just watch. He's questionable right now. So it's a game time decision. Me playing Giroux tonight, no. For the simple reason, there's other better options. I actually will sit there and go backwards and spiral around and see if I can go pick up like a Sean Couturier first. The problem with Columbus is this: they're one of the most disciplined teams in the league. I think as of the other night, they were 2nd or 3rd in the league in penalties taken, and that's usually that's been Philadelphia's bread and butter lately. They've been a little better on the power play. I know it was like near dead last for most of the season, but over the last 10 games or so, it's come up steadily. I mean, look, 19% is about league average. But that's a big improvement over 12 where Philly's power play was at. So I would actually look towards other plays from Philadelphia and try to go a little bit cheaper than Claude Giroux.
Wow.
All right. Apologies to Brad Marchand
Excellent
and Morgan
stuff.
Riley. We have run out of time. You 2 rocked it, though. You are free to go. Go do whatever it is you do on a Thursday night.
Okay, Emerson, thanks, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure you got a banger
Sorry.
planned later, buddy. We got more NBA to get to right after NASCAR Price Check.
Welcome to Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for Las Vegas, whose salary jumped up this week. Kyle Busch, $10,500 up to $11,900. Vegas is his hometown track. He's going for the sweep. You need to put him in your truck lineup, your Xfinity lineup, and your Cup lineup. Martin Truex Jr., $9,500 up to $10,100. Had the fastest car last week, and he would have won too if it wasn't for Ricky Stenhouse and you meddling kids. Ryan Blaney, $8,900 up to $9,500. He almost won last week, but he had a bad pit stop at the end. Don't overlook his restart prowess. whose salary dropped this week. Denny Hamlin, 10,000 down to 8,800. He won the Daytona 500 and then disappeared in Atlanta. I don't even remember seeing him on the racetrack or on the broadcast. Joey Logano, 11,700 down to 10,700. This Penske driver almost won too. Had a loose wheel at the end. Penske loves this package. Matt DiBenedetto, 7,600 down to 6,700. Maybe I jumped the gun a little bit, but I like this price in this package. Favorite play of the week, Brad Keselowski, 11,400. Last 7 Vegas races, 3 wins, and an average finish of 3rd. Oh, but wait, there's more. Guess what? Last week, he won in this package. Chris Buescher, 6,500. Finished 9th last week. Finished 15th in both Las Vegas races last season. All right, guys, check out the DK Playbook for your DFS information and needs. If you've got NASCAR questions, hit me up on Twitter at @RaceForThePrize. I'm Pierce Teacher. Catch me on DK Live.
Thank you very much, Pierce. Welcome back to The Sweat, where we do our best to make all of your daily fantasy sports dreams come true. Now, remember, listen to these 3, please, because we just ask the questions that our producers write. DK Live's Julian Edlow, Awesemo.com's Chris Spagnuolo, and Karin Phillips of the New York Daily News.
It's NBA high or low. So are these Vegas projections too high or too low for the following players? Now, James Harden has the highest projected point total on DK Sportsbook tonight, 34.5. Do you think this threshold is too high or too low for him against the Heat, Spags?
I think it's a little too high. On a back-to-back, he's a jump shooter going against the Heat team who allows just 44.7% shooting from the floor. Not where you want him to be. And the neck issues too with Harden, I feel like you could really see them affecting him recently. He hasn't been exploding the same way he has previously, so I'd go under here just by a little bit. I think it's probably the right move, a little bit safer as well.
Karin, too high or too low?
I'm going to go Goldilocks and the 3 Bears and go just right in the middle. I think this is kind of perfect. You like that reference there? I was thinking about Teddy Grahams when I wrote it.
I'm thinking about porridge.
But the last time they played Miami, Harden had 35 and they lost by 2. Look, we know he's dinged up a little bit. The rest of the roster is back. The 30-point streak is over. But until this guy starts tanking it and he's putting up like 18 and 22 a night, I'm just going to believe that this guy is still going to score somewhere near 30 or 35 a night until I just don't see it for like another 2-3 months to balance things out. So just right in the middle for me.
Julian, too high, too low, or just right?
I mean, it is just right, considering he scored 35 against Miami the last time, but I'm going to lean with the under here. The only thing that is kind of cause for concern, rather, is that Eric Gordon did get ruled out. So that's maybe a little bit more usage for Harden, some more shot attempts for him, which obviously could help him out with the over. But you look at that game log. He's been under this number 3 in a row, under this number 4 the last 5. I just think it's starting to catch up with Harden a little bit. We have a healthy Chris Paul and Clint Capella out there, so I think I'm going to lean with the under here.
Karl Anthony Towns went crazy last night, put up 37 points against the Hawks, north of 71 DK fantasy points. Much tougher defense he has to face tonight, though, in Indiana. DK Sportsbook has his over-under at 24.5 points. This total too high or too low, Karin?
I'm going under with this. Last time they played, they held Cat down to 17. And when you think about this Indiana team, ever since Victor Oladipo went down with that nasty right leg injury, defense has become the mantra of this squad. It's kind of like the only one of the few teams in the league that actually still lock up. And, you know, thinking about that and that they're still hanging around at that 4th, 5th, 3rd spot in the East, I'm going to under on this one, but just slightly under. Like maybe he has like 22, 23, but I just don't see 24 tonight.
Okay, Julian, what do you think? Because I really feel like this guy's come back with a vengeance to begin the second half of the season.
I mean, he definitely has, but this probably isn't the time that I want to be taking the over on Towns' player props because he's been so hot lately. 37 in the last game, 34 the game before that. I just don't think it's going to continue, and even though that's a lot less points, as Karin mentioned, Indy held him to 17 last time, so this isn't the best matchup for him. It's the second night of a back-to-back. Minnesota's on this road trip. This concussion from the car accident might eventually catch up to him, even though he's been playing so well lately. So given the defense that Indy has and the matchup with Miles Turner, I'm going to go with the under here.
What do you think of this total, Chris?
I'm also going to go under here. We have the Timberwolves, Jeff Teague back in the lineup, which is really the main thing which puts me off Towns. He's been in large part because Teague has been losing that ball handling time with him injured. So I think Towns here is going to find a tough defensive matchup like the other guys mentioned. And just, the Teague thing really affects it too much for me where I'm not into it. The back-to-back doesn't help either. So I go under as well.
All right, Ben Simmons' over-under tonight is 18.5 points against the Thunder. Is that too low for him with Joel Embiid still out, Jules?
I think this is a fair line. This is probably one that in general I would stay away from because Simmons' scoring can just be, so scattered. The other guys, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, JJ Redick, those are guys that I think we can count on to score more with Embiid out of the lineup. That said, Simmons did have 20 in the other matchup that he played against OKC this season. So since he went over that number and Embiid isn't out there, I think I would lean to the over on this one. But I feel more confident in going with guys like Harden and Towns than this Simmons prop.
Chris, this guy's definitely seen his numbers drop since the arrival of Tobias Harris. So what do you think, over, under, high, low?
I think we're here for Ben Simmons just because that team total rather for the whole game is so high. It's 238.5 right now. Dropped a little bit because of Paul George being out, but the line has actually shifted a little bit closer. It's still a -4 spread for the Thunder, but closer towards the Sixers. So I think that's going to benefit Ben Simmons as both a scorer and a playmaker, but I think he's going to score just enough to get there, but it's probably going to be close, and you don't want to make that bet because you're going to be a miserable person all night.
True that. Karin, where are you going on this one? Do you want to be a miserable person all night?
No, I don't see him doing this. Like, isn't it interesting that Ben Simmons' numbers dropped as the Sixers team just added more guys who can shoot the basketball since he doesn't? I don't know if anyone else saw that clip the other night. I think it was against New Orleans where he just, God help that man, teach him how to shoot a jumper. But no, you've got Jimmy, you've got Tobias now, you've got Redick. I believe in those guys a little bit more than Simmons just because he's up and down so much, like Julian said, and Embiid's out. So yeah, I got him under 18 tonight.
Kevin Love's over-under is 17.5 this evening against the Knicks. Do you think this number is too high or too low, Christopher?
I think it's really too low to the point where I'm actually worried that something weird's going to happen, but I've got Kevin Love projected for 21.4 points tonight. I think he looks like a smash play. Really, the only risk is Mitchell Robinson just snatching every ball out of the air like he's prone to do, but Kevin Love, this is the spot where he reasserts himself after being out from injury, and he's shown pretty good potential so far. Minutes should be on the rise, so I think all benefits going over here with Kevin Love.
Karin, share your thoughts with us, please.
I think this is the most disrespectful question I've ever had while on this show.
Oh,
okay?
wow.
Kevin Love is a future Hall of Famer, and you don't think he can score 17 points against the Nets?
Yeah, hey,
whoa, hot take city, what?
Okay, that's it? You're done. Let's go straight to Julian then, because Julian, I remember talking to you earlier this afternoon, and you actually liked Kevin Love's spot.
Well, first of all, he's going to need 18 points here because it's 17.5. But yes, I love this. This is my favorite prop that we're discussing in this segment, and I love the over just like the other guys here. Love's been getting more involved in every game back from the All-Star break. He's seen his minutes go up in those 3 straight games. He scored 18 in his last game against Portland. The game before that, 32 against Memphis. When Love faced the Knicks earlier this season, he scored just 14 points, but he played 15 minutes. If he's going to double those minutes tonight and be in the range of 30 minutes in this game, there's no reason that Kevin Love shouldn't be in the high 20s tonight for his point total. I think this is going to be a pretty easy one for him.
All right, guys, more NBA talk is ahead when you help us out with tonight's Tiers contest. A special guest going to join us next with what Jason Witten coming out of retirement means for the Cowboys offseason. But first, this.
So we have John Jones taking on Anthony Lionheart-Smith. John Jones with what seems like the easiest fight that he's had for God knows how long. Is 9,600 on DraftKings, minus 800 favorite. Anthony Lionheart-Smith is 6,600 and plus 550. Really, how do you really break down this one? The only way that you can really look at it is Anthony Smith has a puncher's shot, I guess, at this point. John Jones has always had pretty good durability. John Jones is better than Anthony Lionheart-Smith at literally everything. John Jones has a longer reach. You can just catalog every single possible advantage that you could have in a mixed martial artists contest, and John Jones has it. So on DraftKings, at least in cash games, people are just going to be locking him in, right?
Yeah, I got to assume so. As you mentioned, probably one of the easier fights he's had, at least on paper. I mean, with John Jones, you also got to realize if he's at his absolute worst, he's still probably the best in the world. So even if he's having a bad fight, he should still get it done. You know, it wasn't all that long ago. You will probably remember this more than anybody. You had a tasty little parlay, and it was Jones inside the distance over OSP. And everybody was talking about what round will Jones take OSP out. But he goes out there. It was a layoff performance, and he just kind of just goes through the rhythm. He gets some takedowns. His ground and pounds, nothing ferocious. He kind of just allows OSP to get rounds in, and then the fight ends. And he didn't score a tremendous amount in that performance. Now you see what he did to Alexander Gustafsson in his last fight. It doesn't look like this is the guy that's coming in here off. When he fought OSP, he was powerlifting Jones. I mean, he was so thick, and he had spent a lot of time doing just a lot of heavy lifting and putting muscle on his body. So you can make all the excuses in the world for him. The thing with John Jones is, for as good as he is, and again, best ever, as long as you're willing to look up past the steroid issue. But the thing is that he could theoretically finish Anthony Smith at any point, but he's not usually one of these quick starters. He's not somebody that goes out there and gets a first or second round finish. Long gone are the days that he's gone out there and blown out Shogun within a round. Now you kind of see him just pick away at guys and break them down. He's not a big power puncher per se, good volume puncher, guy that has power but generally breaks you down between rounds 3, 4, and 5 and tries to get the finish there. His submission game, a good submission game. But again, it's going to take a little bit longer to set this stuff up. Now you talk about a puncher's chance. This is MMA. Literally anybody. He could be fighting CM Punk. On a theoretical level, there would be a puncher's chance. But yeah, how many guys has he fought before that had puncher's chances? Guys like Glover Teixeira had a puncher's chance. And I know Jones never fought him, but this reminds me a lot of like a Volkan Oezdemir. Volkan Oezdemir has a couple hot performances. We're going to talk about Johnny Walker later. It's the same thing. You blast a couple guys really quick. Holy shit, this guy's got power. Wait until you feel this power. Jones has been hit before. He honestly has. Guy's chin checks out.
All right, everyone. We are joined now by a very special guest, Dallas Cowboys beat reporter Nick Eatman. Appreciate you coming on the show, my friend.
No problem.
Good
Nick,
day to have you here.
Obviously, the big news of the day is that Jason Witten announced his return to the NFL, so retired no more. How surprised were you when this news became public?
I thought it was April for sure. I thought this is April 1st. Somebody's playing a joke. Like I wasn't buying it. I for a little bit. I just didn't think that was going to happen, and it finally took me a little bit to realize, okay, this is a real thing, and it's very interesting of how this went down, and so I'm excited to see how it's gonna play out, and I think it's a good move. Only time will tell on how much he can contribute and what type of player he's going to be, but it's never dull around here for sure.
No. So what does Witten's impending return mean for Dallas's roster and the moves that'll make this offseason, maybe their approach to the draft? What do you think?
Well, I think the intriguing part for him of why he came back is the fact that, this is a good football team. I mean, they were good second part of the year. They got a lot of young players, and they got some star talent. What they don't have is a tight end that's got a lot of experience and skins on the wall. And so, it's a situation he can come back into and probably contribute right away and be the starter. So what it does for their offseason, I mean, it was an area of need. We'll see about the draft. I'm not saying that they won't draft someone, but I don't think you have to go into it and say we have to get a tight end, because they do have young players they like in Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz. They like those guys. Now they can learn a little bit more from Witten. So I don't think it's a need. I don't think they're going to turn their nose at drafting one if one falls in their lap.
Let's talk specific players. Dak Prescott specifically. So how can Witten's presence affect Prescott's fantasy value?
Well, the thing about Witten 2 years ago when Dak was a rookie was the fact that he would lean on those easy throws, if you will, the underneath stuff. That's why Beasley had 75 catches. I think Witten had about 70. And then the second year, the defensive coordinator said, we're going to take that away. We're going to make you throw it up to Dez more, make more 50-50 balls and take away your easy throws. And so I think that now with Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, I think that you're going to start to see them finding ways to get Dak on the move more and maybe get those guys in space. I'm not sure if Beasley will be back, but obviously Witten will be, and try to get him more involved. I also think from a fantasy standpoint, I think Witten's presence alone will help them in the red zone. They were they were really bad in the red zone last year. And I think just having the threat of a tight end, not having him there really affected them. I think Zeke's value will go up. I think Dak's value will go up just by having Witten's presence there in the red zone.
What about the value of like Blake Jarwin, though? Had that monster game in Week 17 against the Giants, 7 catches, 119 yards, 3 touchdowns, 40 DK points. What do you think this will do to his value? I know you mentioned how much he can possibly learn, he and other members of this offense, how much they can learn from Witten.
I said that earlier about learning from Witten. That's one thing that hasn't really gone well since he was here. They've drafted 3 second-round tight ends since Witten was on the team, and none of them really broke out and did anything, and a lot of it's because Witten doesn't get off the field. I mean, Anthony Fasano didn't work out here. Mark Tellis didn't work out here. Gavin Escobar. A lot of it was because of the role that Witten had and him being in every down player. I don't know if that's going to be the case now. I think that the Cowboys are going to have to make sure that they get those other guys involved. And we'll see about Schultz too. Dalton Schultz has got some value as well. Whoever can pick up the most as a blocker and get on the field as that number 2 tight end is going to have a shot. But like you said, great game for Jarwin. Breakout performance. We saw what he can do. Giants weren't exactly the 86 Giants there on defense that year, so we'll see if he can do it with a consistent basis. But when you put a game out there like that, then we know at least what kind of potential that you have.
Now, you mentioned how much these guys can learn from him. So what do you think is going to be more valuable for the Cowboys, his veteran leadership or his ability to make plays on the field?
That's the best question I've heard all day. That really is a good question because it's so 50-50. It really is, because I think it's the play on the field. I really do. And I don't know if I would have said that before, but the analogy I keep giving is imagine if you're the one running the meeting. This is your meeting, and there's 40 people there, and you're standing up to run the meeting, and you've been doing this forever. But for some reason, you had to leave 30 minutes before it started, and now you come in and it's already started. It's a different mindset. It's a different type of meeting, and someone else is over here that has had to run it, and now you have to kind of gradually figure out how to get in there. That's what I think is going to have to happen here. He left. I love Jason Witten, but he left. He left the team. He went to do something else. They had some success, and other guys stepped up. And so now he's back, and I think they have to massage that role. Is he going to be a leader? Of course he'll be a leader. I don't think you'd call it his team. So I think getting him as a tight end in an area of need, I think that's actually going to be the biggest part of this.
Nick, I know it's not the best question you've heard all day, but what has impressed you the most about Witten over the years? You've been with this team for 2 decades now.
Second best question. How about that?
Yes, I'll take it.
Just his consistency. I mean, he missed a game his rookie year, broken jaw, didn't miss another game. His whole career, he's just always been there, and he's been willing to do whatever. And I know Jason Garrett loves to tell this story about there was a play where the tight end had to block the nose tackle right in the middle of the line, to wham the nose, and he wasn't going to allow Witten to do that because he's the all-pro tight end. We'll get another guy, and he was like, "You don't think I can do it? You don't think I can block the nose?" And he was like, "Watch this." And he's always had that mentality. He's always been the toughest player on the field, and it's not like he hasn't had injuries that would keep him off the field. He just hasn't been off the field, and so you always knew what you were getting with him. And he takes so much pride in his work, and it'll be really fun to see him back into this mix and see how it goes. But I think he even said it in his quote today. This is a good football team with a lot of rising stars, and I want to try to help them win a championship. He sees it. If this team would have gone 7-9, missed the playoffs, he's not coming back. But and I think a lot of it had to do with how it worked out in Monday Night Football. He didn't have the best season. I mean, he's learning. He's getting there. It wasn't as smooth as it was for Romo, and Romo was a natural doing it. And I think that was part of it. It's not that he won't go back there, to the booth one day. I don't think. I think he will. But I still feel like he had something left, and this is the time to go get it.
Nick, thank you so much for coming on The Sweat and giving us your take. NBA Tears of Joy is next.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. It's NFL draft season, and no player is more polarizing than reigning Heisman Trophy winner Kyler Murray. The quarterback crossed a major hurdle at the NFL Combine on Thursday, where he measured favorably, which only has his draft stock moving up. It's gone so high that Murray is even being considered as the #1 overall pick to the Cardinals in Peter Schrager's latest mock draft on NFL.com. Of course, Murray does have quite an interesting history with first-year Cards head coach Cliff Kingsbury. Back when he was still in the college ranks in October, Kingsbury said that he would take Murray if he had the #1 overall pick in the draft. Fast forward a few months and that opportunity is in front of him. Arizona has said that first-round pick of a year ago in Josh Rosen is their quarterback of the future, but haven't really been so concrete on it. Is Josh Rosen our quarterback? Cardinals GM Steve Keim said Wednesday, yeah, he is right now for sure. Until the draft is over, the speculation surrounding the promising young quarterback and the Cards is only going to grow.
Final block of the show. Yay. NBA Tears of Joy is where it's at. Julian, Chris, and Alex are here, and for that, we are grateful.
So let's make some picks for tonight's Tiers contest. Let's start with Tier 4, Clint Capella, Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love, Klay Thompson. Who do you like the most here, Jules?
Let's keep the love for Kevin Love going. I think he's the best play in this tier. I think his minutes are going to keep going up. We already talked about the point total, which we all like the over on. I just think he's in a really good spot against the Knicks, and Cleveland's working him back into the rotation more than they have at all season long. So I get that there's some other attractive plays here, given that Kevin Durant is out for the Warriors, given that Joel Embiid is out for the Sixers, but I'm going with him on this, with Kevin Love in this tier.
Chris, who you like?
It's also going to be Kevin Love for me for all the reasons that Julian just mentioned, which we mentioned a couple segments ago. I think he looks like a great play. The Sixers guys were a little appealing because of the high total there, but Kevin has got the best role, best shot at having value here in a really easy matchup versus the Knicks. So Kevin Love for me.
Well, that sounds great. Where are we going on this one, Alex?
Yeah, I like Kevin Love more in a salary-based format, but in tiers, I think I want to go with Tobias Harris. He's averaging 42 DraftKings points over the past 4 games. We talked about how Joel Embiid is out. It's a tough defensive matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but it's also a really fast-paced matchup, sky-high over-under on this game. So I do like the scoring ability of Tobias Harris, and his rebounding's gone up since Joel Embiid's been out too, so definitely has double-double potential.
All right, Alex, who do you like the least in Tier 4?
The least in Tier 4?
Please.
I think Jimmy Butler. He hasn't seemed as aggressive lately in trying to, just his field goal attempts are down. His passing and his rebounding are both pretty spotty. It's just been really inconsistent, with Jimmy Butler lately. I'm just not that into it tonight.
All right, who are you the least into, Julian?
Well, I know he's coming off a big game, but Clint Capella just doesn't seem to be quite as strong of a play as the rest of the guys in this slate. I know Hassan Whiteside is out, so it helps him a little bit, but Bam Adebayo is still a capable big man in terms of covering him. I just like the other spots better. You have Klay Thompson without Kevin Durant. You have Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris without Joel Embiid. So while Clint Capella is fine, I just think by default he's not in as strong a spot as these other guys given the lineup news.
Chris, who's steering clear of in Tier 4?
Like Alex mentioned, I think it would be Jimmy Butler for me. His usage rate on the Sixers has been 7th highest since Tobias Harris joined the team a bit. I think he's got enough upside. He's going to eventually push that usage higher, but I think he's got a lot of downside here. And in tiers, you want guys who are secure. And I think right now, Jimmy Butler, not the most secure play in the world.
Guys, Tier 5 has Steven Adams, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Andrew Wiggins, Paul Millsap, Dennis Smith Jr., and Mitchell Robinson. So who's the best pick here, Chris?
Steven Adams for me here. I think he's going to get a lot more scoring opportunities with Paul George out, a lot more pick and pop, a lot of rim run opportunities. So I think he's got a good floor and a pretty good ceiling here, which gets higher because of no Paul George. So Steven Adams is my guy.
Alex, you're looking at Tier 5. Who do you want to take?
I'm going to stick with Mitchell Robinson here. I also considered Paul Millsap, but the pace, I guess maybe just the overall skill level of the Cavaliers defense has, compared to Utah's defense, who Paul Millsap is playing, is just vastly lower. And Mitchell Robinson's, I don't want to say he's too hot to fade right now, but he's 45 and 54 DraftKings points over the past 2 games. Definitely the hottest guy in this tier, so I'm going to roll with him tonight.
Jules, who do you like here?
Yeah, well, these guys are definitely on the 2 plays that jumped out to me, and it's really tough to fade Steven Adams in this situation, not only with Paul George out to help him, but with Joel Embiid out on the other side. He gets a really nice matchup in terms of no other big guy to really deter him from having a huge game. But that said, I have to side with Mitchell Robinson here. He is too hot to fade, not necessarily on the main slate, although I do like him if he fits into your lineup. But in terms of this tier, I think he's too hot to fade. He's been a double-double machine, blocks a million shots a game, and there's no reason he shouldn't do that to a really bad Cavaliers team tonight.
Well, we got some time to kill, so who do you like the least in Tier 5, Julian?
Well, I wasn't prepared for that.
We know.
So
We know. Do you need a minute?
I guess
Figure
it's
it
going to
out.
be, I'm looking at the tier. I guess it's going to be Dennis Smith Jr. for me. I just feel like Emmanuel Mudiay is back in the lineup. He's the guy that the Knicks want to give some minutes to. We're playing so many guys. Kevin Love, Mitchell Robinson are guys that, stand out in this game. We can't like everyone in a Knicks-Cavs game. So Dennis Smith Jr., I think, has been a little overhyped as the go-to guy for the Knicks and hasn't exactly been that in recent games.
Alex, who do you think is gross in Tier 5?
Ew.
It's got to be Dennis Smith Jr. His minutes have been inconsistent lately. Over the past 3 games, you're talking about 24 minutes a night. Like Julian mentioned, it's weird because the Knicks clearly you think they want to play Dennis Smith Jr. because they're tanking, but ironically, I think they know what they have with him, so they're trying out Emmanuel Mudiay. It's just a very strange situation. So yeah, Dennis Smith Jr. is not a guy I would go to here at all.
Chris, who you just think is gross in Tier 5?
I'm going to take the coward's way out and go with Ricky Rubio because he's not playing. So
Yeah.
that's a 0.
Hey, that works, man. You're not cheating.
Yeah, there you go. That's great.
I do agree with that pick.
Okay, well, it's too late for you, bud. Tier 6, I'm not going to name them
Maybe
all.
you should.
No, I know, right? Fill time. But who do you like the most here, Jules?
I'm going with Miles Turner here. I just feel like the Pacers have too many guys out here. Sabonis has been a guy that's come off the bench and done really well for them. And then even though they're not the same position, Tariq Evans out as well means that the starters are just going to have to play more minutes for Indiana. And I know there's 3 Pacers in this tier, so we have a lot of places that we can capitalize on those injuries and on those values. But for me, I think Turner has the highest upside, benefits the most directly from Sabonis being out. So I think you can make the argument for any of those 3 Pacers, but Miles Turner is the one that I want.
All right, who do you want in Tier 6, Chris?
It's going to be Miles Turner for me, too. I think he looks like a good play for all the reasons that Julian just mentioned. Domantas Sabonis being out, really the key reason. I think there's some foul risk because Karl-Anthony Towns does get to the line at a pretty good rate, but Turner just looks too good. If he's not getting in foul trouble, he's going to get you 30, 33 minutes. Has some upside there as well. So Miles Turner for me.
Last but not least, Alex, Tier 6.
I'm going to get a little weird. I'm going to go Evan Fournier. He's been really hot lately. 31 DraftKings points over the past, I think it's 6-7 games. And against Golden State, it's going to be a fast-paced matchup. He's going to have Klay Thompson on him probably. It's not exactly ideal, but I think his floor might be the highest of any of these guys here. He doesn't have that 40 fantasy point upside that a lot of people necessarily want, but I think, if you're trying to get a little contrarian, Fournier definitely works.
All right, it's time. Slate-approved pick time. Please take your time with these answers. So, who's your slate-approved pick, Alex?
I am going with Klay Thompson.
Cool.
Yes, averaging about 48 DraftKings points per 36 minutes without Kevin Durant or Andre Iguodala on the floor. I think he's going to get a lot of attention on offense. He's gotten hotter lately. He had a really rough start to the season, but I think this is a good spot for him to run the second unit a little bit, get some comfort that way. And against Orlando, I just don't see them putting up a lot of resistance at all.
Chris, slate approved.
It's got to be Russell Westbrook for me. I think Bam Adebayo is a cheap guy who has a little bit of downside risk, so maybe that could go south. But Russell Westbrook can have all the usage in the world and have the ball in his hands all game versus the Sixers team who he played really well against with Paul George on the floor. So I think just pay up, take Russell Westbrook, and beat the rest of the people with the rest of your lineup.
Julian, your slate approved pick.
Yes, Jesse. My slate-approved pick will be Russell Westbrook because it's just too obvious of a spot for him. You got to start your lineup by paying up for him. No Paul George, no Joel Embiid. Protecting the rim on the other side is also a really important part. So I just think Westbrook is the obvious play on this slate. But if you want to get a little sneaky going for value, I think there's been some good values that have been highlighted all day that people are going to be really heavy on. And then you've got a guy like Gerald Green that is going to start in place of Eric Gordon now. So he might be a little bit lower owned of a value that you can get on a little bit later when people have already hopped on all these guys they like all day.
Good work, everybody. We did it.
That's a show.
20 seconds left.
The Sweat will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Yep.
DK Live app, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Unfortunately, Emerson won't be here. I'm going to miss you, man.
I just tweeted out a video of a dinner plate-sized spider eating a possum. Check it out.
Bye.